Good evening, one and all. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to World Human Sciences and Management Conference 2022. This is Rudranarayan Das, Executive Director, Center for ADIVASI Research and Development. We are proud to announce that this conference is conducted along with Indian Institute of Management, Sambalpur, Central University of Odisha, Koraput, and Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. At the outset, I welcome our speaker for today evening, Dr. MD Intaj Ali and participants across the globe who are watching us through Facebook and YouTube Live and who are here to listen to Dr. Ali. The broader theme of this conference is agnotological context, disciplinary practices of social sciences and policy trends. On behalf of Center for ADIVASI Research and Development, I extend my profound gratitude to Professor Sarath Kumar Polita, respected Vice Chancellor, Central University of Odisha, Professor Sanjay Kumar Nayak, respected Vice Chancellor, Ravenshaw University. Subham, is there any problem?
Continue.
Sorry. Professor Dr. Mahadev Joysul, Director, Indian Institute of Management, for their support. The convener of this largest virtual conference are eminent Indian historian, Professor Chandi Prasad Nanda, and eminent policy activist, writer, and philanthropist, Mr. Charudar Panigraiji. Dear friends, the main outcome of this conference is to come up with the national and international framework for the education system in future. The crux of this conference will be the use of digital technologies such as artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and virtual realities that is being increasingly adopted after the outbreak of COVID-19. So we hope this conference will be help our students, faculties, researchers, and all to expand their mental horizon and help the education system to adopt the best thing in possibly we should be taken as. Ladies and gentlemen, our center, CARD, is a leading research-oriented institution promoting ethnographic, empirical, and evidence-based research for engaging and addressing the challenges that 21st century globe is facing today. The prime agenda of this center is to come up with potential policy solutions for social change while believing in the idea of debate, dialogue, discussion, where our director, Dr. Jena, is talking about 3D and E3, expertise, experiencing, and education. The institution focuses on marginalized communities and works for their livelihood to protect the nature, culture, language, and identity in particular section. The age of modernity has witnessed that change is the only constant phenomena for the societal purpose to enhance the knowledge. Our information work for them is methodical and avoid paradoxically framework which is neglected so many centuries from theory to become practice. The center sincerely believes in the concept of social marketing, which is seriously looking for non-profit marketing and builds new social entrepreneurship for check and balance mechanism to glorify generations to come. The center come to serve with the holistic approach of critical thinking in education to fill the gaps and to plan accordingly for the voiceless communities, for beneficiaries, direct in self-reflecting global South societies. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, in today's evening, we have with us one of the very young and mesmerizing man with new ideas, new concept, one of very young researcher, is none other than Dr. MD Intaj Ali. Dr. Ali is a researcher at HAT. A researcher at HAT is currently working as assistant professor of English literature at Netaji Subhas Open University. He has done his doctoral research at the Center for Comparative Literature, University of Hyderabad, and his thesis titled on Tradition of Storytelling in Rad, Bengal, a comparative study of oral and visual art forms, and has covered the mediums of photography, visual anthropology, ethnomusicology, documentary making, digital humanities, and folk archiving. Sorry, archiving. Our his journey as a full-time researcher began with his MPhil dissertation on his journey as a full-time researcher. With his MPhil dissertation on revisiting and re-entrepreneuring the baul in the contemporary context that took a more concrete shape during his doctoral years. Dr. Imtiaz's primary focus is in digitization of the oral history and orature, and this interest brought him closer to several significant projects on the same. As a preview, Dr. Imtiaz has been associated with Bengal Digital Folk Archive and digitizing vernacular artifacts as a curator at University of Hyderabad. Apart from a handful of fellowships and grants, his merits have been recognized with a 1-month fellowship from the prestigious Institute for World Literature, Harvard University, to participate in their 6th summer school program in 2016 at Harvard University as well. One will find him engaged as a practicing digital activist since 2013 for creating a database for folk culture digital archive, and his penultimate initiative to preserve the folk auric aspect of countries by providing an online reservoir of the same and reaching out to a global audience. A strong believer in the fact that no research can be practiced and studied in isolation, Dr. Imtiaz has not limited his learning to the above, but he has also embraced other forms of technology such as web designing, photography, and video editing. Dr. Imtiaz has successfully worked through the assemblies medium like audio, video, image, journals that create bridge between memory and history. So in today's session, Dr. Imtiaz Ali will be deliver his talk in the theme of is there any Indian way of thinking of ethnomusicology? So without taking much time, I would like to invite Dr. Ali to initiate his talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Rudranaran Dasji, for your kind words about me. I don't know how much I have done fruitfully all this work. But anyway, let me start or begin our discussion. I don't say that it might be a kind of lecture, but rather a kind of discussion that maybe, rather it could be a discussion with all of you for my understanding what can be done and in terms of ethnomusicology. And first of all, thank you very much for the organizer, especially Center for ADIVASI Research and Development, for inviting me for this discussion. And though, as I said, that it is not a kind of lecture, rather I feel to express something related to the discipline, which is still not so much mature in our country. So the discipline called ethnomusicology, as you study or as you observe, is interdisciplinary in nature and can be studied in a different perspective. that maybe I'll explore later on. So I just I'm just setting out the context of my discussion. And I want to start with a disclaimer that the title, as already said by my friend Rudranayan Das, that I have taken from A.K. Ramanujan, like the idea of the title I have taken from A.K. Ramanujan text. The title of his text is there an Indian way of thinking, an informal essay? So I deeply inspired by his title, and I thought of mixing it to the separate discipline. Maybe he thought about it from the literature perspective. Maybe he thought about it something related to uh, Indian culture. But I thought of making this connection with ethnomusicology, and let's see what can be done. And as you know that ethnomusically, as I stated earlier, that it's a kind of interdisciplinary in nature, and it's not so much mature in Indian context. And as this discussion is organized by a center, so I think center is talking about something related to policies, related to different agendas. So it would be better if I could speak something related to policy making for the discipline called ethnomusicology. Maybe some way or the other, this kind of recommendation might help for all the agencies to think more on the discipline. So I'll first we start with maybe my talk, which will not be so much theoretical enough. It may be a kind of discussion. So I'll start my topic with what do you mean by ethnomusicology first, and then I'll talk about little bit on what can be done, what are the things that can be taken up for making the discipline more fruitful in Indian context. So the first agenda that I'm discussing is what do you mean by ethnomusicology? So the music is something that, when you're talking about ethnomusicology, uh, initially it has been studied from the Western perspective, and the Western people are discussing something from non-Western music. And initially it started with comparative musicology, and then the discipline called the term called ethnomusicology came up through comparative musicology. So this is a basic history that I'm not going in detail. So in one sentence, what do you mean by ethnomusicology? So ethnomusicology is something when you're discussing that music in culture, and at the same time, culture in music. So this is a basic discipline, the basic definition that we can think of ethnomusicology. So when we study music in terms of culture, then maybe it can be regarded as ethnomusicology. But there is a prefix called ethno, right? So when you're talking about ethno in the beginning of musicology, so ethno means something related to communities, something related to a particular communities and how they practice music. So if we study that music of the communities, that is called ethnomusicology. So musicology deals with different perspective in terms of the history of the music. And in the beginning I said, because my ideas are connected from here and there, so I may come from beginning to the end in the middle, so it will be done because I don't have a specific structure of my presentation. So later on maybe we'll see it, how is it structured or not, that maybe we'll see it later on. So it is not just concerned with the description of the musical event, right? So what it is then? That means we do something or we try to study something about the particular event, why that particular event took place, why that music is performed. in the society? What is the reason why they are practicing it? And what is the confluence in Indian context? But remember one thing, India is a land of multiple religion, right? And multiple languages. So for that matter, ethnomusicology or Indian music can be studied from different perspectives, as I stated earlier, from the linguistic point of view, from the socio-cultural point of view, from the historical point of view, or many more sectors, many more branches can be taken up when we study ethnomusicology. And another function of studying that ethnomusicology is what is the function of that music in the society, in which context that music is performed. For example, if you look at the devotional music in Indian context, devotional music may be from make originated from different religion. For example, kirtana. Kirtan is basically performed in different part of Bengal, Odisha, and Assam. For example, Kawali is performed Kawali is also devotional music that was performed in in Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Bengal, and so many part of in Indian land. So let me share with you a video, and then we'll see how diverse is our devotional music and how we can study music comparatively in Indian context. So there is one point that India is a diverse land, multiple, it has a multiple languages, and it has different religion. So there is a lot of opportunity of studying music from comparative angle. So let me share with you the video of 8 minutes, and then we'll discuss a little bit on the video. It's actually a documentary on Sama music of India, and how it is, how it is originated from different part of India, whether it's Jammu Kashmir, North India, South India, and many more places. Let me show you the documentary, and then we'll have a discussion on this.
രണ്ട് വ്യത്യസ്ത ജനത ഒരേ സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ പരസ്പരം ഇടകലർന്നുകൊണ്ട് ജീവിക്കുമ്പോൾ രണ്ടിൻ്റെയും കലാപരമായ സവിശേഷതകൾ പരസ്പരം വെച്ചു മാറും.
गरीब नवाज तकरीबन 1184 के अंदर अजमेर शरीफ तशरीफ़ लेके आए। उन्होंने यहाँ पर पहुँचने के बाद जब देखा कि यहाँ पर लोग भजन वगैरह ज़्यादा सुनते थे, भजन और कीर्तन की वजह से लोगों का मजमा जमा हो जाता है, तो आपने खुदा की वहदानियत के गीत गाने के लिए महफिल सिमा राइज की। मतलब इसका सबसे बड़ा रिलेशन ये है कि भजन कीर्तन भी जो किए जाते थे वो मालिक की इबादत के लिए किए जाते थे।
हम मुस्लिम होके हम मेरा सी लगाते हैं, गाने बजाने वाली जाति। सुबह हम भजन करते हैं, मीराबाई के, कबीर जी के, कृष्ण जी के, उसको हम प्रभाती कहते हैं। और उसके बाद में हम बिलावल करते हैं। मतलब ये सूफियाना और ये भजन सेम चीज़ है, इनके रास्ते अलग है।
শংকৰদেৱ গুৰু মৃত্যু হোৱাৰ প্ৰায় কম বেছি 100 বছৰৰ পাছত আজানপুৰ চাহেব অসম আহিছিল। ৰোৱাৰ পাছত তেখেতে অসমীয়া ভাষাটো শিকিলে। এই বৈষ্ণৱ ধৰ্মৰ লগত সংগতি ৰাখি জিকিৰ ৰচিলে। এই জিকিৰৰ কথাবিলাক চববিলাক ইছলামিক হয়, কিন্তু প্ৰথাটো যিটো সুৰ যিটো সেইটো হ'ল বৈষ্ণৱ ধৰ্ম।
আমি হে দোকানী শংকৰদেৱ ৰীতি পুণ্য স্বামী মাধৱ দেৱ প্ৰীতি পুণ্য স্বামী গোপাল দেৱ স্বৰূপ মণি পুণ্য স্বামী আমি হে দোকানী।
सूफी वनो तमिस युस जन साफ सुथर आस, अमिस निश आस न मल कह, अमिस गस पन शेख सना आसन वन ओमुत कह, ये शेख सना हज बसित। Islam yim zan Islam parastı alim tımın nişan yiman vukat kiye kımın sufiya. Tezan nazran tar sufi dolumut. Tım çivis kehtina avaz kar. मगर सूफी हेगर तमिस वन क्या सुम डोलमुत या क्या तमिस एजाज अगर तम योन सह मोकलो पे सूफी हेत नश तमिस पानस लमन पे वत
आज महफिल काबर निशाना आनंद नाचे गाय अल्लाहु Allahu Allah, Allahu
Hello. So I think you have already visualized that part of the documentary. That is not the full movie. It's just the trailer of the movie Sama, right? So I think can you have a discussion on this movie and then I'll proceed. What is your understanding when you listen this documentary movie Sama? Uh, do you have any discussion on this? And I think it will be better for us to have a discussion and then we'll proceed. Any reaction?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Sir, I thought this documentary says about the diversity of Indian culture, especially in the sense of Sufi music and devotional music, and how do we don't understand the brotherhood between the religion and we are still not understanding the situation and fighting for some kind of religious issue. We have to be focused on our history. Kind of bhakti movement and Sufi movement is happening in the 6th century AD. We have to be focusing on that topic, and especially in the sense of music, you have to be throw light on that. My question is that why this kind of music is dying day by day in the streamline of our society? Shubham, please.
Yes, Ali ji, can you add something clarity to the word Sama, which I think is of listening, and it is perhaps related to Sufism that already Rudra told. So that defines to attain God through love and devotion. You know, what Sufism is giving emphasis, given emphasis by killing the hatredness among the inter-religious community, which was very much important during the 6th century BC. Religious reformation movement. Yes.
Okay. Any more inputs from other participant, and then I'll answer 2 questions and then I'll move forward.
Sir, Dr. Joyce Raut is sending in chat box that the topic undoubtedly is very interesting. We are indeed very fortunate to have been born in this land of diverse culture with multiple languages and innumerable folk songs.
Thank you, Joycery ma'am, for your comment on this. And it's very true. I agree with you that in India, especially because of multiple varieties of languages and multiple religion, we feel that we are in one up to that moment. But when you read about the context of Bhakti movement or Sufi movement that is happened earlier, this is because of the the reason is like the rigidity of the religion and the rigidity of the people who follow. But one thing is clear, that our religion never say to fight against each other, right? It's the people like us who always fight with each other. But never you'll get any scripture you read, there is no such things, about no hatred and nothing else. But when certain people are rigid enough, and that time there's a free thinker that came up in terms like Mirabai as the talking, Tulsidas, other people. In terms of Bengal, we have Lalon, Vijay Sarkar, and other people. There are many more composer, but they are very normal kind of people. They're not like so much as we say that they are great people, but they try to unite people. That is the important thing. They try to unite people through certain movements, and that is still prevalent. And there are two questions that came up from Rudranayan ji and I forgot Shubham ji from one is Sama. Sama, I think it's a kind of atmosphere where everything is mixed up. I don't know, where there will be no bifurcation, there will be no rigidity, no, so it's a kind of state of mind, the state of place where the human is mostly important than nothing else. Even you can observe, you can worship through a human being through. And even Baus also says that in Bengal we have popularly one genre which is very much popular, that is Baul and Fakri song. They also, even in the movie also, you saw it at the end part, no, when it's showing about Bengal music. That time also you got to know that the Baul music is also popular, and they also talk about that what they are talking about, they are also talking about that, which is important in our life, that is human is mostly important. If you love human being, then it is to love God. So if you hate somebody, then there is no place of loving God. So that is there. I think I answered Shubhamji's question. And another question, Rudra is talking about why is this music is dying actually. Maybe I'll talk about later because it is there in my presentation what I'm talking about, why it's that it is dying, and what we should do actually, that I'll talk about it in my later presentation. But what we noticed by watching that movie, that I want to analyze little bit for understanding. One is maybe you have watched that language is various kind, that you have seen that they are talking about the music of same kind, but language is different, right? But still they're talking the same thing, right? So maybe they are from different geographical location, but still they are saying the same thing. So devotion is a certain thing which gives empowered people to be united. So that is also the thing that you notice from this movie. And even you see that some of the movies that this documentary is talking about the cult figure. For example, they are talking about Moinuddin Chisti, or even Moinuddin Chisti is popularly, mostly popular in northern India, but in region, local region, they are also talking about Moinuddin Chisti in their own language. So that is the influence that he can endorse all the people in their mind, right? So that is also important thing that we got to know from this movie. Okay, there is one request, Shubhamji, to play the Likri Jikri Shambhuri folk song before vote of thanks. Oh, sure, that may be we'll screen it the later part of our discussion. So now, maybe now, as you see that when you watch that movie, you get to know that mostly they are talking about devotional music, and from that angle, we can understand that there is a lot of scope of studying and observing music from comparative perspective. So what we can do, like when we are talking about India as a whole community, in country like India, we have different kind of style of music, and that variety gives us unique in nature. It's not like Western context where we will not get so much variety. But here there is a variety of songs that can be analyzed from the ethnomusicological perspective. So our main concern of talking of all this is to see the individual musical tradition and how they are different from each other. If they are not different from each other, can we find any kind of interrelation between them? So again, the note of comparative musicology or comparative ethnomusicology comes to our mind when you're talking about whole India. If you look at, or if you want to map the whole music system of India, then again, the methodological comparative musicology comes to our mind. So now you see that, will you, Acha, somebody wanted to talk. Can you unmute him?
Yes, participants who can ask can unmute themselves and ask directly.
Unmute myself. Yeah, I'm able to unmute myself.
Thank you.
Well, this is Ashok Kumar Panda.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, please.
I'm a journalist.
Sir,
Earlier,
please unmute your video.
India, then I was in Sanmarg, and I also teach in different places.
Sir, please unmute your video, sir. Entire globe will watching you, sir.
Right. Okay, fine. Well, I'm a journalist, plus also I'm a teacher of journalism, plus also I'm a motivational speaker. I have a little point to add out here. The point is, very simple. Sign language is a very important component in communication, sign language. Now, what really happens is we are only using sign language for the deaf and dumb. What do you think in a diverse culture like India, if we popularize sign language, don't you think it will be superb? And there'll be a lot of homogeneity between all the caste, creed, languages and all. What is your opinion on that?
Thank you very much, sir. Is it your question? And do you have any other opinion on that? So I can take it up.
No, I just wanted to tell, for example, instead of, calling somebody, come here, when we show our, hand and say, just come, if you shake it like this, it means come here. Do you get my point? So yes, what I'm trying to tell, in a diverse culture like India, a lot of languages, a lot of cultures, a lot of religion, if it is not sign language, what do you think could be another mode of communication where unity, harmony, national integration will be more thick and thin? Your comments, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for your question on this. See, when you wanted to teach our student, especially the communication skill and all that, there is also a possibility of communicating with each other through sign languages, as you said already as an example. So even if you look at music perspective, like if you look at music is also kind of communication to the people.
Absolutely.
Why I'm saying this also, because see, for example, when the religious text is difficult to understand for any of the scripture, any of the scripture is difficult to understand, but sometime that local composer, local writer is to write in a very simplified manner, and that is also in different kind of communicative mode. Either it's from the theoretical angle, that we have jatra in Bengal, and also I think in Odisha also we have jatras. So through jatras also they're trying to communicate the masses, where is songs also a kind of medium to communicate the people. So I think even your suggestion for sign language. So I'm saying not only the sign language, but also the different kind of platform, different kind of forms also can play yeah, an important role in communicating with people. I think
That's
this
true.
could be my simple answer to your inquiry or your question.
Yeah, you see, I have a very relevant example out here, very relevant. I'll just take a few seconds only because it's time for us to close. So I'll just take a few seconds, by the shade of a tree, two little young boys were playing, and when they were playing, a gentleman was passing by and he told one of the kids, "Hey, my dear son, how do you communicate between the two? You are Spanish and he's French." You know, the Spanish boy was a very intelligent boy and said, "Uncle, he laughs in French and I laugh in Spanish. That is how we communicate." I hope the example is quite relevant to what we are discussing out here.
Thank you very much, sir, for your inputs on the subject. I think it will be, enrich our thoughts on the subject. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Ali, please carry on.
Let me proceed. Like, we have a problem. Like, if you look at our discipline that we are talking about, ethnomusicology, when you're talking about ethnomusicology, if you look at the Western universities, for example, in UK or USA and other countries, you will see that they have a specialized discipline. For example, MA and PhD level courses. But when you're talking about in our countries, like we don't have that specialized courses as ethnomusicology in our universities or maybe in centers, and they don't have that certain courses as such. But there are a lot of problems now when we are talking about why we don't have that courses. So that is actually when you study music, maybe music can be studied from different discipline. For example, literature people also studied music, or maybe comparative department, regional department also study music, or you'll see anthropology or department also study music. So they study music from a different angle. Maybe they have a different different angle of studying music. Maybe I don't have all the specific reason why they're studying music from, but the reason I think what I understood when we little bit of studied all these, then we'll get to know that they study music from basically from interdisciplinary perspective, but not as not as a broader perspective like discipline. So what we need, like when you study music, I think we need to look at it from different angle. Angle in the sense we need to understand the journey of music. So what are the things, the location I'm saying now, the location that you can or we can study music from diverse perspective, from the journey angle. So now I'll give you some points. Maybe we can think of it and we can study music. One is the journey. Music also travels. Why music travels? It also it's not fixed in one or particular place. Music also migrate from one place to another. Sometime we'll study music from geographical angle, or we can study music into in relationship, the family relationship, how music is generating from one generation to another generation. The fourth point, we can think of music as a humanistic values point of view, how human values can be interpreted through music, or the universality, what we say, the universality, can find any kind of universality. The fifth point is the network analysis. Network means how the music is generating and how it's influencing other music, other form. The fifth point can be the memory perspective. As you know that mostly my study area is oral narratives, like oral music. So that is totally connected with memory. Most of the people are, they have so much memory that they can remember thousand of songs, 200 of 2000 of songs in their mind, and they can remember it any point of time. So that is also the stages that we can think of. The other point is the documentation part, documentation and digital preservation part. That can be done through archive, through research. And the last point is the linguistic and cultural diversities that we have. That can be the area of exploration that we can think of. But the most important part is archive. So if we don't have that archival part, then it will be difficult for us to sustain the problem of our own music, because we'll not able to archive, we'll not able to get that music which is maybe earlier it's so popular, and maybe it will lose its essence. And there is a question in the beginning, why our music is dying actually? Why our music is dying? The most important part, why our music is dying, because the first and most important part, I think music is dying because there is a concept like art for art's sake and art for life's sake, right? So most of the music is dying because uh, there is no connection with the life now. They cannot earn any money with this music. There is no performance. There is no such help to all the people from the government agencies. So that may be the reason that most of the songs are dying. There is no people to perform, because and that is not generated from one generation to another generation. Earlier, it is earlier, the music is generated from one generation to another generation. There is a parampara called Guru Shishya parampara. So that parampara is not there now. Maybe some of the performance is there, some of the performance there, Guru Shishya parampara there. I'm not saying it's completely extinct. I'm not saying, but most of the genres, if you'll see that they actually lose its content, they lost it, Guru Shishya parampara. So that is the possibility, that is the main reason that it is dying. And another thing, that we are not equipped with that systematic knowledge, so that we could document them, we could we could keep them for future generation. That we are not doing. So what could be the material types that we can think of when we do it for archival purpose? So what we have to do, maybe we could have a field recordings and we can write it in the notebooks. We could take interviews, we could make documentaries, we could take photographs. Also, the correspondence thing that will do it from one people to another people, that correspondence things also we can keep it up as a material types. And also the old studio recordings, we have to dig it out. What is there in the earlier? What are the recordings is available earlier? That we have to dig it out. For example, there is a famous people like Devan Bhattacharya and Kalidas Gupta. in Bengal context, they have recorded so many songs in their lifespan, and that is available, that is archived. So certain things we need to think about that possibilities. We have to find out what are the old recordings are there, that we need to find it out, and we can think of that for archival purpose. Now, when you're talking about this center role, as I said, that we have a center like this center, Adivasi Center. They are actually liberal in the sense why? Because they don't need certain permission to do something, to do a project work, to do a lecture series, to do a conferences. But being or having in a as an like be in the traditional universities, it's very difficult to pass any proposal. It will make you round and round, and lastly what will do, you'll fed up with this. Are chodo bhai, ye nahi karna mujhe. So that is very difficult in terms of in government agencies, because it for making a course, it will take 6 months for approval and all this stuff. But here is the role of a center like Center for Adivasi Center, as you have, that they can take an initiate for doing wonderful work like lecture series, whatever lecture series, or maybe for conferences or workshop or any project work. Maybe I don't think so that there are a lot of complexities as we have with our traditional universities. I'm not saying about one particular institute. Maybe there'll be a specific problem and in each institution. So what are the problems that we are facing now for this? As I said, that we are facing a lot of problems. For example is the institutional problem. Institution believes in basically a true academic in the sense they are not focused on interdisciplinary. They are mostly focused on if you are a faculty in English discipline, why should you teach? Why should you discuss music? Because it is not the part of your discipline. So here lies the problem, that we cannot change the mindset of the people. That is the institutional problems, that you will not able to get that approval of any kind of things which is related to interdisciplinary subject of studies and research. The second problem is the funding issue. So if you do a project, you need a little bit of funding. Even our director, like your senior director, like Bikram Bhai is saying that where will get the fund? So funding is also biggest issue. So for that matter, what we can do, we should do a little bit of collaboration with the foreign agencies, different policymaker, that they are doing it, right? And the third point is the ignorance. Ignorance means you have the whole mindset of the old people, and then they don't want to change it. Actually, the mindset's never that is kind of ignorance is there. And the fourth is government policy. They should rethink about the policies which is connected to cultural heritage, cultural policies. So we need to think of the cultural policies. For that matter again, the center can play an important role to reflect, to force government, to force central government to initiate certain policies which will be easier for the our cultural heritage policies, right? And the last is the research interest. Research interest means people are mostly focused on something related to different agendas. But I think we need to think for our own culture, which you will get more connection with your local culture. Maybe you're studying something like foreign policies, foreign culture, whatever it is. I'm not saying that you don't have to study, you should not study foreign subject. You will study, but apart from that, you need to connect your local things, whether it's your state, your own country, anything related to your own culture, so that cultural heritage can sustain. And the most important thing is proper training. If you don't have any books of on ethnomusicology in your library, how will you study? Who will teach you the training? There are lack of books in the library. There is not a single book on ethnomusicology. So how will you study? So you need to again go back to open access books. If there is an open access book, you can study. Otherwise it's difficult. You'll not get all these things, all this stuff, right? So these are the problems, I think, that we are facing when we study for something related to interdisciplinary subject. Then what is the prospects? What we can do, right? So for that matter, I think center specific study is the best policy. For example, again, I'm coming back again, one center specific again, because this kind of center specific policy, like center specific study, can help to build up to study interdisciplinary subject. We need more collaboration, right? That your center is doing the collaboration. So if you don't have collaboration, then you don't have that understanding to reach the global things. Not only global, your local things you'll not able to. You have to collaborate with your NGOs, local societies, government aided societies. That collaboration is also important. If you want to study local culture, we need to think of the huge corpus. We need to increase the growing interest of the people. Not only that, we have to design courses, interdisciplinary courses. So either you should study your discipline specific study. That is not the matter. Apart from that, we need to design some kind of interdisciplinary course on ethnomusicology, so that people can read, people can discuss. We need to change some kind of university policies to focus on your culture, your heritage. Then only certain discipline can, sustain. So these are the prospects that we can think of while we study music. So for that matter, what we did with our young friends, we made a group called Ethnomusicology Reading Group. And then we designed a course with group of people, and we termed it like introduction to ethnomusicology. And then we design it ourselves. We don't have any advisory, we don't have any people to help us for designing that course. We did it ourselves, all of us, 5-10 friends. We are grouped together and we did it. And then we divided the reading list. For example, we divided it in for the course for this introduction to ethnomusicology, we divided it into 5 modules. And weekly once online, we used to sit and then we'll discuss the text. For example, in module 1, we divided this module 1 into 4 weeks. And then we are discussing the text like, how does ethnomusicology matter? The socio-political relevance of ethnomusicology in the 21st century by Anthony Seeger. So this is the introduction. There are 5 texts are there. I'm not discussing it. But in the module 2, again, we are discussing something related to history of ethnomusicology, origin and development. And again, this module also divided into 4 weeks, and we are reading a text like Ethnomusicology, Past and Present by Paul Berger, and then Historical Aspect of Ethnomusicology by Bruno Nittel, Paradigm in the History of Ethnomusicology by Bruno Nittel again, and look at another alternative views of the history by Bruno Nittel again. So this is our second module. And the third module is talking about theory and methods, where again, this course, this module divided by 6 unit and 6 week again. And in conclusion, we're studying something: is complex music socially significant? Doing ethnomusicology in South Asia by Qureshi. So this is a kind of sample kind of thing where we are sitting together, and at least we are trying to, helping each other to understand the text. So we thought of studying, first of all, as a foundation course, we are trying to study ethnomusicology from the Western perspective, and maybe later on we'll be studying, in our second phase, maybe we'll study ethnomusicology from the Indian perspective. And that time maybe we'll discuss about, as I said, we can discuss about Kalidas Gupta, we'll be discussing like Abbasuddin Ahmed, Hemango Bishas, and there may be many more heroes who never came to light. So here I'll be talking about something like Najir Ali has, has written a text called Ethnomusicology in the Indian Context, where he has given that for the policy making, he has given that we need to study ethnomusicology in 3 perspectives. One is in general courses, and another one is the practical courses we can study, and the third one we can do it like disciplinary and interdisciplinary courses we can adopt to understand music. So maybe it is there in your syllabus or not in there in your syllabus. That does not mean that you don't study music. So for popularizing, for making a discipline, I think we should study more, and not only me, but also we can ask other people to join with us to study music, not only for listening, but it is for the study purpose. Okay, so I'll not take more time. I think I have taken enough time. So this is actually the time where we can think of a discipline called ethnomusicology, and there are a lot of opportunities. I'm not saying about the job perspective, because what is the perspective, what is actually the status of job in India now. You know very well that what is the status. So it is very difficult to say that if you study music, you will get a job. That I cannot say. But to understand your own culture, to understand your own heritage, I think music is the only discipline which can connect people to be more harmonious in nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali, for a very wonderful deliverance. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Jena, if you want some conversation.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very wonderful and very insightful deliberation related to ethnomusicology and about oral narratives, how impact on this particular memory mapping or memory studies, and your suggestions and your sum ups with very vibrant policy thinking for these political players or even the BFAS IS officers, quote unquote, because they don't have any vision. You rightly mentioned about so many things about the multidisciplinary, the multicipity and cultural engagements, how to preserve their language, music, culture, drama, everything. At the end of your presentation, you rightly point out to just open so many courses in multidisciplinary way, not for jobs, because universities are not meant for jobs, sir. Universities are meant for produce knowledge. How many universities are these days are so serious looking upon these ideas? Even we are working or research like PhD, MPhil and this thesis only for stake ads from these archives and museums. nobody take care it very seriously, because the scientific knowledge and the scientific methodology, the scientific temper is loses in these days in terms of policy challenges. How many research data, how many research theses will significantly discuss in parliament and assemblies today? And people are saying that we are going to becoming the Vishwa Guru. We don't have gurus in teachers. We don't have gurus in university level. And I don't have much time to say through your engagement of priorities. I know you are a most important speaker and you are a most important researcher, and you spend a lot of time, 7 years in Hyderabad Central University. What you got from here, you try to now give to the society. And I know personally you, sir, what kind of scholar you are. Your scholarly attitude always engaging so much and so many young minds like me and enter young friends of the globe who are watching you today. Then we'll perhaps jump into another side. Sir, how do you look at the side of ethnomusicology in terms of indigenous culture when these people are celebrating? You rightly pointed out the Jatra, or in particular West Bengal and Odisha. The Jatra is one of the most traditional communication related to so many knowledge gathering and information providing. Besides all, how do you think and how do you relate in terms of indigenous culture celebration? This beating of drums, this beating of the symphony, and the beating of the instruments they use. Do you feel these can be celebrated more 100 years? What is your idea, sir? And what is your ideas to preserve it first?
See, I think you have rightly pointed out an important question. The question is, today we have lost our own right. So for indigenous culture, they're not able to study on their own language. How can you think of it like when you're talking about preserving? So if a indigenous people don't get chances of studying on their own language, then they lost it. Their lost it. Their what can I say? They lost it. Their right to education. I can say for one example, there is a village beside my place, my hometown, and that is actually Adivasi Pada, and there is a primary school. And when I was there, so in this primary school, the tribal friends are, teaching their own friend, like junior kids, because they are better. They are better in understanding their language. I'm not able to teach them because I don't understand their language. Similarly, they don't understand my language. So I cannot communicate something to other people, right? So there is a local comrade. So he thought of introducing it to them, like, okay, you are studying 12, so we can teach class 1 student. If you are studying in college level, then you can teach your own friends, your own culture. So when I inquired about their method of teaching, like method of the school, primary school, and they said, this is a Bengal medium school, but there is not a single student is Bengali spoken. They all are Santali students, and they used to speak in their own mother tongue. So it's unfortunate that in today's world also, our community, local community, they not get their right to education in their own mother tongue. But people say big things that we are introducing education through mother tongue. So that is actually unfortunate. But when you're talking about different format, for example, drum beating, instrumental, all these are part of ethnomusicology or musical heritage. Even the attire, even if we see the Adivasi people, they have their different attire. right? Even if you look at the Muslim communities, for example, when you visualize the documentary Sama, you saw that people have their different attire. But this is also the part of musical heritage. The problem is today that after 100 years, uh, it's very difficult, and it's very sad to say that I don't know where be it will be available at that time or not. But I am confident in the sense that Adivasi people are always conscious to intact their own heritage. There are no other communities in India who are so much conscious about their own culture, but they're happy with their own culture. They don't need so many things. Even in Bengal, there is a fight going on in certain land issue. Government is saying that we'll give you better land, we'll give you job, so you leave that place because there is a land mining things was the opportunity of land mining thing like coal or something um, noticed there. So the Adivasis are saying, we don't want to leave our land. We are happy inside the forest. We don't need buildings. So I think in that perspective, I am very much confident that as much as Adivasi people or indigenous people are in their forest land, in their own land, their culture will be intact. But if you make them, migrated from one place to another, if they are migrated in the cities, then it is very difficult to sustain their own language, their own heritage, and also their own culture. So if they are in their own land, then there will be no issues. They can intact their own heritage. Maybe there will be people who get jobs and they migrate to the cities, but they will come back again. I have so many friends, bosom friends, they are educated, they are PhD holder, but still they are intact with their own cultural heritage. So from that angle, I think we are fortunate that they are very conscious. I think you know it very well that they are very much conscious about their heritage, right? And their whole life, from a whole year, from January to December, they have different festival, right? Whether it's harvesting festival or a Madal festival, or there are different festival around the whole year, and they used to perform it. And then they don't think of the maybe they don't think of the preservation, but they intact it. That's the issue, I think.
Thank you, sir. One more question from Shubham Das. He is asking, most of the tribal folk musics in India are very fascinating, represent their culture, but why this traditional folk music? It's important and value system has not been globalized yet. Is it all about policy failure of the dominance of majority culture that led to cultural erasure of the folk minority tribal folk?
I got a question, Shubham bhai, that there is always a problem in the sense those who are in power, the power politics, center and the periphery, right? Those who are in the center, they always eat other culture. Even I don't believe on any particular language culture. Even I don't believe in that uh, Bengali should be the supreme language of something. I don't believe in this concept. Language is something that you communicate, whether it's Bengali, whether it's any language. So I think their culture is not been in the prominence because there will be multiple reasons. One can be that those who are in the center, the sometime, the periphery thing will not be so much globalized. And the second one is the language problem. Language problem means people will not be able to understand. But now there are people who are trying to globalize Adivasi language, indigenous culture. For example, they have their own script, but earlier they don't have a script at all. But now you'll see that they have a script. Earlier they don't have magazine of their own, but now they are producing magazine. They are writing books. Earlier we don't have that drama in the stage. There is no drama, there is no translation. And there is a famous book, Adivasi will not dance. I think you heard it, right, you people? Adivasi will not dance. That he got Sahitya Academy Puruskar, Yuva Puruskar for that novel. So when it has been written, like it needs more translation. Then only, but it takes time to be globalized. And there is one song which got so much famous from Odisha. What is that song? Do you remember? Sambalpuri song, something? I don't remember. I think what is that song? I forgot actually that song. And it got so it transferred in the Bollywood movie, right? Do you remember? Anybody? क्या गाना का line क्या था यार?
Oh, Shobha Malhotra sing that song.
Is it indigenous song or folk song?
No, it's a folk song, the purely traditional song of Sambalpur.
Yes, but if there is a tribal
Rangavati, yeah, Rangavati.
Yes. But if there is a tribal song or indigenous song into mainstream, then it automatically it will be globalized, right? Forget about Rangavati. If there is no Rangavati, there is another indigenous culture of Odisha. There is one song performed in Bollywood movie in the mainstream. Then automatically it will become globalized. So we need more cultural policies. So it is our director's role to convince our government, IS officer or who are there, minister and all the people. Whether it's central or state, that is not the issue, but that is the role of a center, because center is free. You always, center is always free. You can ask any people anything. For example, I used to see that you have written a letter to the CM about the school things, right? So from the university, I cannot write this letter to my CM. But if I'm in from the center, I can write. So that is the thing, that from the center perspective, as I said, even in my discussion, that's the role of the center. Specific studies should be there. And they play an important role to make them understand, to convince other people, sir, it will be like this. They don't understand what is going to be, but you have to convince people. That is the role of a center. And the center can be a policy maker. They can recommend the government policy maker to introduce certain things.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Dr. Jayashree Raut with us. Madam, can you ask some question? Please ask directly. Yeah, thank you. Then Dr. Shravan Bag, if you have any comment or any suggestion, please.
So first of all, good evening to one and all. Hope I'm audible, Dr.
Yes,
Jena?
please. Yes, yes.
Okay, so let me to take the ownership, and I must say I feel very privileged, because the song that you all people were saying belongs to my region, belongs to my district, belongs to my location from where I am right now. I'm from Sambalpur right now. I'm speaking from the campus of Sambalpur University, where I teaches. And just to tell you, the whole audience as well as to our speaker, that our university has a special department called Performing Arts Department, where we do have the practices and the archiving process of whatever the things that has been told by our speaker. So just to take a note that honorable speaker, whenever you feel free, um, you may visit the university or you may contact us through, of course, Director Card and Adivasi Center Development Research Center to do furthermore exploration on this particular theme. Now, coming back to the very vibrant deliberation, I must say, you have enlightened the entire audience, the pool of audience. I have a couple of observations as well as my remarks. So just to begin from where you left, from where you end, you are very correct that music is not something that has to be taught in isolation, that has to be taught as a independent subject, correct? In fact, it is not a subject, I would say, right? It is not confined to a very specific, content, correct? So it has to be seen, it has to be viewed from a very broader prospect, and it has to be multidisciplinary in its approach. In fact, somehow I could see that the new education policy might will open that space when we talk the multidisciplinary approach, and music may find some kind of place and the position that we are talking about and we are fighting for in the forthcoming days, if the policy provision of NEP gets translated in true sense. And you said that music never dies. Yes, of course, music never dies. It just get diffused, right? And with the process of time and phase of development, it is migration that takes the music to a different region, to a different land, and that's how music gets a whole lot of its life and longevity. But there's a threat to this process, because you said music migrates. Now you see, in this migration process, somehow and somewhere we loses the very essence and the ethos associated with the music, particularly the song that you were just saying right now, Rangavati. The song Rangavati has altogether different utterance of its words. It is also dedicated and there is whole lot of story and emotion behind this particular lyrics and song. But when it gets migrated, when I'm saying, I'm mostly talking about the commercialization of the song. So at that time it loses its sanctity. And you must have heard there has been a lot of controversy in the recent past, not only to this song but many of the songs like this. So what I'm trying to say is that let the music to migrate, but let not the essence of that music get mortared or get died, because the moment we loses that sanctity, that purity, it altogether loses its very purpose, right? One more observation that I would say, in fact, this is a sort of not exactly question, but I would like to draw your attention, because since I belong to such a region where such kind of things are very much predominant, and we every day see this, and most of the parts of Odisha, since you have visited Odisha, I am sure there are practices of certain songs which are not scripted, and which usually is practiced randomly by a few people in different places. Like we have song, particularly in tribal areas, at different occasions, at different times. You will find a song dedicated to a particular festival. You will at the same time will find some rhymes and song that is being song at the during plowing, in the during the harvesting season, in the farm, in the field. So what I'm trying to say is, let us not dilute the very essence of music in the name of globalization, in the name of commercialization. Because what I personally believe is that song or music, whatever that we are saying, it is not something in other way around. It is something that represents the culture, belief, trust, emotion of a society or people. So somewhere we need to respect that. Somewhere we need to acknowledge that. Just for the sake of commercialization, for the sake of popularity, we should not find the easy means to make it popular. This may be my personal opinion, but somehow when we are talking on a global forum and we are advocating for Adivasis and for tribal people, we must acknowledge and respect these values, because this altogether is something that still now has remained untouched from the so-called social civilized society. So this would be one reflection, and I'm sure that you will be you'd love to contribute on those statement, and you'll also reflect on this. Last but not the least, as you said, that music has no boundary. Just few days back, we all were very much uh, fascinated by one of the song from Sri Lanka, Manike Mage Hite. I'm sure that you all must have heard that. So this song is so much popular. In fact, it is more popular in India rather than in Sri Lanka, from where this particular song belongs to. And from a very remote village of Sambalpur, Rangabati, now it has drawn the entire world's attention. So music has no boundary. Let us live in music, let us respect music, and let us not find easy and popular means to to popularize or to um, give flavor to music. Let us keep its originality. This would be my take, and some sort of reflection after listening to your beautiful deliberation. So over to Dr. Jena.
Thank you, Dr. Savarma. And now I'd like to invite Subham. Any last question and comment? Please go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Janan, and I just, no remark is to be given. I do not want to quote anything, but just I want to play the song that is recommended by Rudra to play, to celebrate our plurality, to celebrate the folk music. I'm just playing it.
Thank you.
Shubham, no sound is there, I thought.
Shubham, sound there.
Thank you so much, Shubham, for such a wonderful song to the honor and respect of our friend, Dr. MD Intaj Ali. Now I'd like to invite Rudranan Das to go for formal vote of thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali, and
Thank
looking
you.
for future engagement also. And need your advice time to time to develop the bridge between the research narrations related to policy perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zena, for inviting me. I would like to thank everyone who helped me putting this conference together. First of all, my big thanks to our speaker, Professor MD Intaj Ali, for explaining one of the very important cultural issues to our audience. We were talking about several kind of music like classical and devotional music and diverse culture of India. And also classical is the most refined and sophisticated music to be found in Indian subcontinent, as you mentioned in your topic. There are many more forms, however, which have a specific function in the society, and these are no means devoid the artistic expression. The great diversity of music in India is a direct manifestation of the diversity and fragmentation of the population in terms of race, religion, language, and many other aspects of our culture. The process of acculturation accelerated in modern times. It's still not a very significant factor in many areas of our country. So there remain remote pockets where the tribal societies continue to live much as they have centuries, even though some of these may show evidences of borrowing from higher cultures, they nevertheless manage to assimilate these elements to their own culture in such a way as to enhance their own identity. So we are the people who definitely talk about our past, definitely talk about our devotional music, specifically your topic is that said about the ethnomusicology. We have to go with more knowledge and enlightenment with this subject to our youth, specifically in our researchers. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali, for your contributions to World Human Sciences and Management Conference, and your time, such a wonderful 2 hours you have spent with us. I have to be acknowledged to the institutional contributions here, in particular the Indian Institute of Management, Ravenshaw University, and Central University of Odisha. And my special thanks to our patrons, Professor Sanjay Nayak, Professor Sarath Kumar Palita, and Professor Mahadev Jaiswal, and the conveners, Professor Chandi Prasad Nanda and Charudat Panigrahiji, for their completely help and motivations to organize that kind of intellectual gathering. And my special mentions to Dr. Vikram Kesari Jena, the Director Center for ADIVASI in Development, and Shubham Das, Dr. Ashok Ponda, and Dr. Shaban Bag for helping me to carry forward the session. And I would like to thank all our coordinating institutions, our Facebook listeners, YouTube live audiences, and a special thanks to our organizing committee members and our advisors, Professor Srinivasu NS, Dr. Sudarshan Misra, Professor Loknath Misra, Professor B.C. Das, Professor Shravan Bag, Dr. Nupur Patnaik, Dr. Amulya Acharya, Shubham Das, Chinmay Sahu, Dr. Kamal Prasad Mohanty, Dr. Samuel Lima, Dr. Neha Sharma, Dr. Priti Sriranjan, for their unflinching support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to all the academicians, research scholars, and students for their active participation in this conference. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and for a patient hearing to Dr. Ali. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Namaste, sir.